Meet Billy the Kid Deep, two-time featherweight and super featherweight champion of the world and an international boxing sensation. Yet despite all the glitz and glamour that comes along with being a former two-time world champion, there's an untold story that Billy hides behind his all-too-familiar smile. To many, becoming world champion is an accomplishment like no other, and to Billy, this was no different. Tell me about the moment you became world champion for the first time.
I could not believe it. It's like that moment had finally come. For me, it was like, oh my, such a proud moment because my brother's gonna go to school now and tell his friends that his brother's the champion of the world. I remember this one moment where I got up on the corner post and I told him to give me the belt, and the crowd was awesome, and I put the belt up like that and the whole crowd just erupted like, yeah. And I was like, champion of the world, you know what I mean? Two-time champion of the world in the history books.
To be crowned world champion twice is a feat not many can attest to, but for Billy, it was a dream turned reality.
So can we hold that now?
Yeah, for sure, no doubt. So this is it right now.
You got the leopard skin and all happening.
Yeah. Let's put it on, let's put it on.
So that's it, that's the bad boy.
That's right there. But yeah, this was everything I worked so hard for.
You see, ever since Billy was a young boy, he dreamed of being champion of the world. Not for the fame and the riches, but more so for the love of the sport.
When I started boxing at a young age, it was all about the trophies and the belts. It was never about money.
But after winning the championship for himself, his gaze swiftly shifted to the luxurious and lavish lifestyles of those who had preceded him.
I grew up watching people like Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley, Prince Nassim, Mike Tyson, guys that had gone on to become multi-millionaires of their sport, like right? And I was hanging out with these people. I was in their cars, their Ferraris, their Lamborghinis, their Maybachs, their Rolls Royces. And I'm thinking to myself, that's gonna be me one day.
An expectation that was in fact about to go into overdrive after he crossed paths with one of the biggest names in the boxing world.
I saw Floyd Mayweather when I was in America on a holiday. And I seen him, I said, hey Floyd. He goes, yeah champ, what's up? And I said, I'm champion of the world now. And he said, we'll be in touch. That's all he said, we'll be in touch.
This short encounter soon led him to being invited to join forces with one of the biggest boxing teams in America, TMT Promotions, otherwise known as the Money Team.
50 Cent and Floyd Mayweather have forged this company called TMT Promotions, and they want to sign you up. I was like, man, my life is about to change now. So I get there, we're hanging out with 50 Cent now. Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, 5-star restaurants, the best hotels.
The thought of rolling with some of the biggest names in the boxing and entertainment world was a fantasy he had only ever dreamt of.
When I was signed to 50 Cent, the only thing that I had in my head was, I'm gonna buy a Ferrari, I'm gonna buy a Lamborghini, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. I spent the money before I even got it in my mind. Wallah.
You were shopping already.
Bahayat Allah. I was looking at cars like I was gonna buy them tomorrow.
Yet as pretty as it all seemed from the outside, Billy soon found himself fighting his own internal moral dilemma.
Being around these people was like ghadab, you know what I mean? Like being around 50 Cent and who I thought, man, this is gonna be amazing. I'm hanging around with 50 Cent, you know what I mean? Biggest rap star in the game at the moment and all that. Wallah, it became like ghadab. Things that he wanted me to be involved in, which I never took part in, you know, come to his parties and I never took any part of that. And I think because I never took part in any of that, he didn't gravitate, or I didn't gravitate towards him because of that situation, you know?
Already struggling to fit in, Billy's term with TMT was soon to fall off course, following an internal conflict, causing TMT Promotions to eventually split. To make matters worse, this was all happening right before a major world title fight Billy was preparing for.
50 Cent he says to me, oh, look, I'm not going to be able to pay the money that I promised you and whatever. And I'm like, he's doing this to me the day before the fight, playing with my head, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of felt like he was against me, you know what I mean? Like he was working against me. Well, the next day the fight is on. I ring up my mum on the way to the venue and I said, hey mum. She said, yeah. I said, don't watch the fight tonight.
And just like that, his short-lived dream soon came to an end. But as difficult as this was for him to stomach, nothing could prepare him for the major fight he was about to face back home after receiving a call from his wife.
I'll never ever forget it. I'm sitting in the lounge room and my mum is standing directly in front of me and I get this phone call from Sarah. She goes, hey, what are you doing? I said, nothing. She goes, oh, where are you? I said, I'm at home. She goes, oh, are you sitting down? I said, yeah. She goes, oh, okay, cool. I just want to let you know, I got cancer. I said, what? She goes, I got cancer. And I was like, you're joking. And then she just burst into tears, started crying. And I was like to my mom, I go, she's got cancer. And my mom's like, oh my God.
2 months and 10 days later, his wife sadly passed away, leaving Billy grief-stricken and at the lowest point in his life.
I'm so confused. Tell me what's happened. So many voices in my head. But
The saddest part I remember of this whole experience was I remember her father. It's like he said to the doctor, he goes, his exact way of doing it was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What is it, money? You guys need money? Because I have money, I could do whatever you want, you know? And they were like, sir, it's got nothing to do with money or anything. We've done everything we can for Sarah and, you know, we don't think she'll be with us much longer. And the only thing going through my mind was, what good is money now?
He never expected the love of his life to be taken away so soon.
The trauma that came after that is something that I wish I could turn the clock back on, you know what I mean? Because there was so much trauma that came after that point of her death, you know, like things like that I experienced, you know, like for the first time I actually went into a grave and buried Sarah. And I was just thinking, man, how did this happen? Wallah, for 6 weeks straight after her death, I was a regular visitor of the cemetery, possibly 2 to 3 times a day. And I wouldn't tell anyone I was going there. I would just go there and sit there by myself.
Dealing with this loss was no doubt the biggest fight Billy had seen in his career thus far. Yet by turning to his religion and reviving his connection with Allah, he was able to make it through.
The only calmness that I would find in my life is through salat. That's the truth. I'm not just saying this because it's the right thing to say, but I'm telling you the truth. Anytime that I was feeling pain or hurt or upset about something, I felt like, you know what, I'm just gonna salat and just, I'm gonna ask Allah, help me, take this sorrow away from me, help me, you know, and after Sarah's death, wallah, the sorrow lasted for a long time.
How has being a Muslim helped you throughout your life?
I believed strongly because my father had instilled us that nothing in your life happens without the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And everything that you face is a test, and any calamity that you face is just a test, and it's just about doing your best to come out better on the other side. It's a test, everything's a test. And Sarah's death was a major test for me. Losing fights was a big test for me. And I just felt like I got through them because, you know, because I remained steadfast and I stayed on my belief that, khalas, this is what Allah had willed for me.
You see, all along, Billy thought being world champion would promise him a life of riches and happiness. Yet through his roller coaster of a journey, he has slowly come to realize,
Because I believed that this belt was going to bring me a lifetime of happiness. The happiness doesn't come through a title, you know what I mean?
Comes from Allah.
That's right.
What do you pray for now?
I'll tell you what I pray for. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes me while He's pleased with me. Because this dunya means nothing.
I ask Allah that He gives you what you ask Him for. Thank you for this opportunity, Billy.
And how did it all begin?
I would say maybe a few months back, I started to feel some serious abdomen pain. I was on all fours, on my knees. And in that moment, subhanAllah, my brother Muhammad called me, my older brother. And he said to me, Bill, how you feeling? I said, MD, I'm not gonna see tonight. I'm not well, man. So then he contacted a friend of his whose name was Dr. Pran. And when I spoke to Dr. Pran on the phone, I said, Dr. Pran, there's something in my stomach that's happening. So then they took me over to do a CT scan. And after the CT scan, I went out and I was dozed off again because of all the drugs that had been given me. He woke me up and he said, Billy, I don't want you to be alarmed, but we found cancer in your colon.
Doctors quickly went to work on removing the tumour, yet they soon realised it was far worse than expected.
A new doctor appeared and his name was Dr. Rabir. And he said, well, I need to do some research. He goes, but I want to talk to you a little bit about what you have. You have a very aggressive type of cancer called Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it's a blood cancer. And he said to me, if we don't act fast, you may not see the next 6 months.
As frightening as the ordeal was, the scenario was eerily familiar.
He goes, you're young and you're strong. These are all the things that I've heard already, because I always sat with Sarah when they said this same thing to her. They said to her that you're young, you're strong, you're fit, it'll be an uphill battle, but you get through it. So here I am, reliving everything she's gone through. I'm hearing the same things. And so once he left the room, I sat on the bed and I said to my mum, I said, I don't want to die. I said, who's going to take my son to school, Mum? Who's going to be there for my son on the first day of school? Who's going to look after my son? No one's going to love my son like me. So obviously now my mind's in overdrive, thinking like, I don't know what to expect. I'm having endless anxiety attacks.
Billy was quickly rushed into chemo.
From 5 p.m. to 4 p.m. the following day, I took 23 hours straight of chemo. I never thought that I would experience the pain that I experienced through that. I felt like a freight train had hit me. And I felt like, it hit me and then reversed over me and then come back over me, and I just had nothing left.
Yet as all doors began to close, there was one door still open.
But one thing that people need to understand is that through your journey of cancer and chemo, you need to look upon a higher power. For me, it was looking upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, call upon Allah. And that was the only thing that got me through, my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in my will to win and to be there for my son. And even though I'm not out of the rut yet, I'm not. It was all from God. Because every time I called upon God, Allah helped me. That's the truth. I never said, why did Allah give this to me? You know what I said? I said, why not me? Allah's given me everything already. Everything in my life that I ever asked for, Allah delivered me. Who am I to question what Allah's decreed for me? I'm not, and I don't have any fear anymore. I've faced the fear of the possibility of me dying. I've been accepting it for a long time. I've never questioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Are you scared of dying?
No, I'm ready. I had a fear of being in the grave. I don't have that fear anymore. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides to take me during this time, then that's Allah's will for me. I'm so grateful and humbled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choosing me to be that person who inspires people through this journey. I'm happy. Wallah, I'm happy. I'm actually happy. You know why? Because during the course of my life, I may have accumulated some sins, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is shedding me of them sins, and I'm grateful for that. I'm so grateful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is cleansing me, and I feel that with the permission of Allah, if I get through this, I feel like a clean slate. Because this chemo, look at me. Look at me. I had hair. I used to love my hair. I loved my beard. It's all gone. I've been stripped down to the bone. Alhamdulillah for everything.
He remains thankful to Allah for his blessings, most importantly, the people that surround him.
Every single time I woke up in the hospital in a not so good way, in the middle of the night, Allah shaheed alayhi, my mum was on the floor praying. Always in sujood, always holding the Quran throughout this whole journey. And that's been my mum since I've been a kid. My mum's been my real life superhero.
He remains grateful, all the while remaining fully aware of the fate that potentially awaits him.
And maybe I might not make it out of this cancer if I'm speaking openly and looking into the camera telling my son, Dad, I'm doing everything in my power to beat this cancer because I want to be there for you. Because I love you, you're the apple of my eye, you mean the world to me, and I don't want to leave you, Dad. One day there will come a time, Dad, where either you leave me or I'll leave you. But while I'm here, I want you to know that I love you very much and that I'm fighting extremely hard to be there for you. The most important thing that I want is my son to be an educated human being. I want him to be somebody that has great humility. I want him to have a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, when my son was born, I never cried, but I knew I had a sense of responsibility at that moment. And the first sense of responsibility that I thought was that I was gonna do everything in my power to learn how to read the Quran. And that's exactly what I did. And that's really important for me. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to show my son that if Dad can do it at this age, you can do it when you're young, Dad.
A passionate and heartfelt reminder that Billy's not only focused on this life, but more importantly, the life to come.
How do you want to meet Allah?
I want to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the most beautiful of ways. I want him to be pleased with me. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only takes me and those who I love around me at the time when Allah is pleased with them. That's the most important thing to me.
Billy's battle continues, and we ask Allah to assist him in his fight. May Allah grant him a full healing and shower him with infinite mercy. Ameen.